Inside your body right now, there is a molecule. It is 9 amino acids long. It is produced in a small region at the base of your brain called the hypothalamus, and it travels through your bloodstream and your nervous system, influencing almost everything you do in social situations. It controls who you feel safe with. It controls who you believe. It controls who you hand your money to. Its name is oxytocin, and for most of the last century, scientists thought it was a hormone involved in childbirth and breastfeeding. Simple, peripheral, biological plumbing. Then researchers started measuring it in situations that had nothing to do with reproduction, and what they found reframed the entire chemistry of human social life, including the chemistry of financial trust. In 2005, economist Paul Zak at Claremont Graduate University and neuroscientist Michael Kosfeld at the University of Zurich ran a study that is now considered one of the most important experiments in neuroeconomics. They designed a game involving real money. One player, the investor, was given a sum of cash. They could send any portion of that cash to a stranger, the trustee, on the other side of a screen. Whatever they sent would be tripled. The trustee could then send back however much they chose. The investor had no contract, no recourse, no guarantee. The only thing protecting their money was the other person's willingness to reciprocate. Half the trustees received an oxytocin nasal spray, half received a placebo. The trustees who received oxytocin returned significantly more money than the control group. They were more generous, more reciprocal, more fair. The molecule had measurably increased trusting behavior. But here is the finding that changed everything. The investors who were shown high levels of trust, whose money was sent back in full, showed elevated oxytocin levels themselves in response. The act of being trusted triggered the molecule. The molecule triggered trust in return. A single generous gesture between two strangers had produced a chemical feedback loop that made both of them more cooperative. Zak called oxytocin the moral molecule, the chemical architecture of human cooperation. For most of evolutionary history, this was not a problem. The people around you were people you had known for years. The strangers you encountered were rare. The contexts in which oxytocin fired, a touch, a shared meal, eye contact, a gesture of vulnerability, were the same contexts in which trust was genuinely warranted. The molecule had co-evolved with a social world small enough that its signals were usually accurate. Then the social world got very large, very fast, and the molecule didn't update. Your oxytocin system cannot distinguish between a neighbor who has been reliable for 20 years and a financial advisor you met 40 minutes ago who remembered your children's names and offered you coffee. The chemical signal is the same. The warmth feels the same. The sense of safety feels the same. And the financial decisions that follow from that feeling are, from a purely neurochemical standpoint, identical. This is not a flaw in your character. This is a molecule doing exactly what it was designed to do, in a world it was never designed to navigate. Now consider what skilled financial predators learn, whether consciously or intuitively, from the first moment of contact. They lean in, they use your name, they share something personal, a vulnerability, a story, a confession, because disclosure triggers disclosure, and disclosure triggers oxytocin. They make physical contact when socially appropriate, because touch is one of the most potent oxytocin triggers that exists. They create an atmosphere of warmth and exclusivity, of being let in, of being chosen. Every one of these behaviors is an oxytocin primer. You are not being manipulated by a person. You are being manipulated by a molecule. The person is simply the delivery system. Economist Stephen Meyer at Columbia Business School has studied the downstream financial effects of elevated interpersonal trust. He found that people who score higher on generalized social trust, a disposition linked to oxytocin sensitivity, are more likely to participate in financial markets, more likely to invest, more likely to accept financial advice from strangers, and critically, more likely to fall victim to financial fraud. The same chemical that enables cooperation at scale, that allowed humans to build economies and institutions and systems of credit that require trusting people you have never met, is the same chemical that makes you vulnerable to anyone who knows how to activate it. The molecule that built civilization is the molecule that financial fraud runs on. There is a particular category of financial behavior that Zak and his colleagues documented, which they called oxytocin hijacking. It occurs when the signals that normally trigger the molecule, warmth, generosity, vulnerability, reciprocity, are deployed strategically, without the underlying substance they typically represent. The handshake that carries no actual goodwill, the personal story that was rehearsed, the remembered birthday that was read from a contact record. Your body cannot verify the difference. It was never built to. In the ancestral environment, the effort required to perform warmth and reciprocity over time was prohibitively costly for someone who did not actually feel it. Sustained deception was rare and quickly detected by a small group who knew each other well. The molecule's trust signal was reliable because the environment made it reliable. In a modern financial context, the effort cost of performing warmth for 40 minutes is negligible. The yield, if successful, can be enormous. And your insula, which we now know fires in pain at the moment of financial loss, has been bypassed before it ever gets the chance to speak, because the oxytocin fired first, and oxytocin suppresses the insula's alarm signal. The chemistry of trust turns down the volume on the chemistry of pain. This is not theoretical. A 2010 study published in Neuron found that intranasal oxytocin administration increased investor trust in human advisors, but not in computer algorithms presenting identical information. The molecule responds specifically to perceived social connection, to the feeling of another person behind the transaction. Remove the person and the effect disappears. Add a warm, attentive, remembering human being and the molecule fires, the insula quiets, and the critical evaluation that would otherwise protect you from a bad deal softens into something that feels, from the inside, like good judgment. Understanding this does not make you immune. You cannot consciously override a molecule. You cannot decide not to feel trust the way you can decide not to scratch an itch. But you can build structures that protect you from your own chemistry, waiting periods before major financial decisions. A second evaluator, someone with no relationship to the advisor, no shared warmth, no oxytocin in the equation, reviewing the terms. A simple rule, any financial relationship that you would describe first in terms of how you feel about the person, rather than in terms of the actual terms of the arrangement, deserves another look when you are alone. Not because your feelings are wrong, but because they are chemical, and the chemistry was built for a world where the person sitting across from you had to earn your trust across years, not manufacture it across a meeting. Inside your body right now, there is a molecule. 9 amino acids long, older than money by millions of years, trying, as it always has, to connect you to the person in front of you. It has no idea what they are selling.